100% Dad interviews with dads. We got Manny Torres. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. How are you doing today?
Loving life. We're actually over in Utah now, so we've
Very
been
cool.
boondocking, which means just parked in the middle of nowhere in the desert in Moab, which is cool because we got to do like arches and all that. But now we're up in Salt Lake City, so I'm back in civilization. I have cell phone connection. I have Wi-Fi here at this park. It's nice. I kind of missed it.
Yeah, sometimes it's better not to have a connection.
It is, but it's hard to do podcasts when you don't have connection. And so we've been we were in the desert in Moab, then we were for 3 weeks in Colorado, and we had 3 different just remote areas of Colorado where we just had nothing. And
right.
So it's been a solid 4 weeks of no connections, which has been it's been tough. So we actually got here. We were at a state park at Willard Bay, north of Salt Lake City, and we had cell phone signal. And then we were supposed to be leaving yesterday to go to Idaho and start doing some boondocking out there before we go to Yellowstone and Grand Tetons. And we just decided we like being back with connections and water and sewer connections and things like that. We don't have to transport it all. And so we ended up just moving across the street, a whole 7-minute drive to a KOA, and getting they've got good Wi-Fi, so we can do this. And because this would have probably been tough in the middle of Idaho, just in the middle.
I bet, yeah.
So that's been my struggle so far, and I haven't shaved my beard in this is almost 48 hours growth.
Looks strong there.
Yes, I'm kidding. It's more than 48
you've got
hours.
some gremlin type hair growth going on there. You just put a little bit of water and it multiplies.
I've got to trim this all, and my hair is insane. I've never had hair this long my entire life. So I'm gonna have
I only grew my hair out once. It was right after I got married, and I grew it down to my shoulders, and then I was like, I'm done.
Well, I'm not that long, but man, it's weird because it gets in my eyes now, and I have to tuck it behind my ears. It feels so feminine. It's weird. So something's gonna have to change here soon,
right?
But so I guess let's introduce yourself. Name, occupation, you married, have kids, where you live in, all those kind of things. Cover the basics.
So I'm Manny Torres. I'm a co-founder of Rock My Image. We're a marketing strategy and systems business here in Jacksonville, Florida. Married to Mary Beth Torres, and we've got 2 young kids. One's 8 years old, is Alex, and our youngest son is Drew, who is 6.
8 and 6. So what was your job title? You guys do marketing and what?
So marketing strategies and systems. So we help businesses who have some success, but they know that they can do more. So we help them with their strategy and systems so that they can spend their time focusing on, the things that they need to do to run their business, and have systems in place behind them to leverage their tools and assets to keep driving those leads, nurturing them, and turning them into sales.
Okay. So you're on the online side of marketing?
Majority of it, yes. We'll do a little bit of offline strategy, but the majority is online.
Okay, cool. 2 kids. How long you been married?
10 years.
10 years. And how old are you?
I am 44.
Okay, cool. Where do you live? You're in Jacksonville, right?
Jacksonville, yep.
Okay. Yeah. Are you living in St. Johns County, working in Jacksonville, or are you living in Jacksonville?
Living in Jacksonville, just a little bit outside of San Marco.
How you guys handling the COVID experience?
It's been new. It hasn't been a big change for me because a lot of times I work from home anyways. But I guess with the kids being around, that became a challenge with both my wife and I working from home. But once they got back into camp and they're out doing their thing, it's been a lot easier.
So so is Jacksonville opening back up then?
Yeah, they've opened up, a decent amount of things, and now it's kind of teetering back and forth with more places having you wear a mask and more social distancing. But they opened camps up for kids, I guess, at the beginning of June, and restaurants are open. But now we're starting to get a little relapse here, so they're starting to require more masks, and some places are shutting down.
So what kind of camps are they going to?
So they were at Camp Chippewa, which is this really cool outdoor camp where they do a ton of different activities, canoeing, fishing, sports. Essentially all day, the whole day they were spending outside just rotating between different activities. So they put them in little groups of, say, like 8 to 10 kids, and that's like their unit. And they get to do all kinds of activities together with that unit. They have a pool on site, so that they had a blast there.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to go.
Camp I kind of want to go to, right?
Right.
Gosh, they need to have that. Where dads or moms and dads, the whole family can go to activities like that. Actually sounds fun. We just did that what do you call it, whitewater rafting while we were down in Durango, Colorado. It was that was fun. The kids loved it. But anything outdoors, I feel like is just everyone appreciates, it seems like. Right. So yeah, so they're off in camp. Is that like 5 days a week?
Yeah, for the most part. We also have them doing a little bit of swimming. So some days they'll get picked up early to go to practice. But yeah, it's Monday through Friday.
Oh, good. Did you notice anything with them, like during the COVID? Did you? And I don't know exactly. We left in the middle of COVID. So we just came out to the
good
Midwest,
time to leave.
Well, it's either that or just sit at home all day. So we figured we'd go to the remote parts of the country and just, if we're going to be stuck inside our house, might as well just keep moving our house,
Right.
And then go and exploring the outdoors where nobody is anyway. So that was the theory behind it. But we genuinely thought we would leave and the whole COVID thing would last like another month, maybe 2. And then it would like settle down and get back to normal. And here we are like 2 months later and it's just rearing its head again. So,
right.
Where's it go? So COVID. So were you guys like hardcore locked down for a while, or did life kind of go on as normal? Because I know schools got canceled, and so kids came home and all.
Right.
How'd that work out for y'all?
For us, they essentially went away for spring, or had spring break, and then essentially spring break was continued indefinitely. So we were doing homeschool learning, which was interesting. I think the schools here did a decent job trying to transition very quickly, but our kids were running through the lessons very quickly, so they had a lot of free time. In terms of our family, like what we were doing, day to day, we try to get out and just walk around and get the kids doing something active every day. So we were walking them in the mornings and taking them out at night until stuff started to open up. Luckily, it was still cool enough at that point. If we had to do it right now, it wouldn't work so well. So those were the biggest things that were a challenge for us. My wife recently had a scare where someone at her work tested positive for COVID, so she had to self-isolate for a while. So we got to experience what that was like. So she stayed in the extra room and kind of, avoided us as much as possible. Not completely, but, wore a mask around us until she got that all clear, which was about a week later. So that was an interesting little scenario to go through.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was smart. So we've homeschooled for a few years now, and I will say homeschooling so much faster than public school. I grew up in public and private schools, and just the amount of time you just sit there kind of doing nothing, waiting for people to catch up and just doing like busy work versus homeschool. Like they literally get stuff knocked out in like sometimes an hour in a day or something, maybe 2-3 hours, or it's just so much faster than school, which for a homeschool life, and we're business owners as well, it was nice because we can go to the beach and have lunches together as a family and all that. And, like you guys are doing, going out and, getting outside and having fun. A little harder when there's COVID, I guess, because there's less you can actually do. Did the beaches ever open back up? I know they were shut down for a little bit when we were there.
Yeah, they opened back up, and I was really surprised that they closed them in the first place. I understand because it was spring break and there were a lot of, people that weren't thinking too well and, were just essentially flocking to the beaches. But I see, the ocean, a lot of people move here just for mental health and to be able to go out and exercise and things like that. So I thought that was a vital thing that should have been kept open.
So that's one thing I was going to kind of get to. And it seems like you guys are trying to curb that is, you mentioned mental health. I feel like kids being cooped up and isolated and not around other people and not socializing and not, it's super weird to me. It's something I would never want to do to my kids, regardless of what's going on out there. And I feel like it's going to hinder some kids or mess them up a little bit. Maybe not permanently, but it just feels so wrong to me. I don't know. Is that something you guys felt the same way? That's why you guys were trying to get out, or?
Yeah,
Or
definitely. Especially for our youngest, because he's very outgoing and really enjoys interacting with other kids. Our older one, he's very adapt to be by himself and can sit and draw all day long. But our younger one really needs that interaction with people. So we were definitely trying to get them out. We continued visiting, my parents and my mother-in-law, letting them see them. Even though a lot of people said, don't go around old people. We were like, you know what? They'd rather see the kids and enjoy that time than, have the alternative where what if they waited, 6 months and then something happens and they never get to see them. So
Exactly.
we just took that and, my mother-in-law does a great job of not only spending time with them, but also like learning with them, teaching them different things. And my parents had just moved down here last fall. So they're really enjoying getting that extra time with the kids.
That's good. Yeah, we ended up kind of doing the same thing. The grandparents just weren't scared, and just we kept seeing them, and we kind of kept to ourselves from like strangers and things like that. But family still saw family, and in our neighborhood, we have homeschool. We have kind of a tight knit group around our house, like our neighbors next to us, and we all have young kids, and so we are kind of like isolated. Can you see my hand here? Isolated together. And so, because all the kids were, they were still playing with each other and doing whatnot. We just did it as we were just one large big family, essentially. Right. And so we were still able to like have dinners at each other's houses and all, but it was really just, the three households of us just, kind of doing it all together. So they stayed really still. Someone got to play with friends and hang out and, run across the street to their friend's house and watch TV shows or jump on the trampoline or get in the pool or, whatever it is. So I couldn't imagine if, we had all locked each other in our houses with the friends 5 feet away. It probably would have scarred them for life or something like that. Pay for therapy bills next year.
Yeah.
Especially with us leaving, because then we would have like not be able to see them and then leave for a couple of years. It would have been rough.
Right. Yeah. Our other saving grace was we joined a boating club. So essentially back in like February, January. So that didn't shut down at all. So we were able to go out on the boat and there's not a lot of people out and the kids loved it. They were able to tube and swim and, kind of get out. So it was a blessing that we were able to do that.
Great time to have a boat or be in a boating club. We never joined the clubs. We thought about it a few times, but man, that's nice. You don't have to own it. You just show up. They have the boat ready for you. You hop in, return it, leave. You don't have to pull it out of the water, clean it, figure out why the engine's not starting, all that kind of stuff. So you guys enjoy that? Yeah,
we do. We've really enjoyed it and been able to take my dad out and the kids. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's good. Yeah, we might have to do that. I never, ever, 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 ever want to own a boat.
Yeah.
Just you hear so many horror stories about it, but I think one of those boat clubs might be nice. We rent them every once in a while, but I guess the thing about the club is you'd have to use it all the time. I feel like to feel like you're getting the value out of it.
Yeah, it's not too bad. And, the one that we're a part of, it's called a Carefree Boat Club, and they have locations all over the country. So you can use reciprocal. Okay. So if I go up to like, say, Lake Lanier up in Atlanta, I can rent a boat out of there through the club and, you just pay for the gas. So it's really great.
Sounds good. How are you guys screening like internet and TV and movies and things like that and trying to keep their delicate little minds from being exposed to too much?
We've done a pretty good job of really keeping them off the electronics as much as possible. We let them, like during school year, during the week, they don't touch any screens. And then on the weekend, we'll give them like a lot of amount of time. And essentially they have like Netflix and we have the parental controls on what they can watch. And they're pretty good about following that. A younger one, Drew, like if he gets a hold of the iPad or something like that, he'll start to venture into YouTube and we'll have to keep an eye on him with that. The older ones, he follows the rules by the T. So he's very good about not kind of venturing out and looking for new things. So I think the biggest exposure they've actually gotten, it's been from their friends, being at their houses or even their like friends' parents. We've had some that have, some creative language that they use at times. So
Yeah.
that's been more of the things that, we've seen that we've had to kind of work around versus, their behavior at home.
Yeah, it's tough because different people just have different value systems, and what
Right.
like is a bigger deal maybe to me is just not a big deal to them. Which we have, as far as cursing goes, we have one grandmother and one aunt that just they let it fly.
Yeah.
So it's something we've just had to kind of deal with. It's not like we're going to go without seeing grandma and
Right.
an aunt. So, but my sister, she grew up in Baltimore in the bar scene, was a bartender like downtown Baltimore and New York City and New Jersey and all that. So yeah, she knows a fair amount of colorful language, and it's just part of her natural, because in that area of the country,
Sure.
that whole Boston, New York, New Jersey, Baltimore, it's, that's just normal language. That's just an adjective, to
Right.
drop the F-bomb. It's not even, I'm not even sure they consider it a curse word. It's just another adjective. And there's just no getting her to stop. It's just, part of her normal day-to-day language. So yeah, something I guess we just have to talk about and say, she says it, you can't.
Right.
Well, I don't curse a lot. I've always held back on it. And my wife, once she's mad at me, she'll curse. But other than that, it just doesn't get said a lot in our house. But yeah, certainly other houses, like I said, it's just language. Like it's not even considered curse words or bad words anymore. We might be a little more of a prude household, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're a little more conservative on that. My wife's probably the one that lets it out a little bit more than I do, just because she has a little more temper and quick trigger on that. So sometimes she won't even realize. I'm like, do you know what you just said?
Right. So the devices, do the kids have their own phones?
No.
Have you guys put any thought to that at all? Is there like an age you'll do it, or a maturity level that you'll start doing?
I think it would be a teenager type age for them. We're essentially going to see how long can we push it off without them complaining too much about it. So far they've been okay with, the stuff that we've done in terms of not giving them screen time and them playing with a Wii that's, 15 years old and
sure.
not getting. Excuse me?
Do they have tablets?
They have an old iPad tablet that's, super slow, so they can, play some free games on that, but nothing that's modern, really.
Cool. I guess, what do you like to like? Do you guys have hobbies you all do together? It sounds like maybe walking or getting out. Yeah.
Yeah, we like to go to the beach, go boating, go swimming, stuff outdoors. We love traveling. That's been curtailed a little bit here, but we're going to be looking to see if we can get a place up in maybe Blue Ridge, Georgia area, go up to the mountains, get a cabin, spend some time there. We've got another family that has two kids the same age that we've, visited at the beach and kind of spend some time with them. So that's typically what we like to do, spend time with a family or traveling.
Where do you guys like to travel?
So we've been to Cancun. We go up to Atlanta every year. We both used to live up there. Got some family in North Carolina. We like to go to the beach, and we've been talking about taking the boys skiing for the first time, so that now they're old enough that'd be a good trip for them.
I was about to say, because you're not in diapers or anything anymore. Not you personally, the kid.
Right.
So that's good. Yeah, you can start, because we were just talking about that because we're up in Colorado and Utah. It's obviously summer, so we're not skiing, but we're thinking maybe on the way back down south, we're gonna kind of come across through the Dakotas and all that, but we might shoot over to Colorado again. And if the slopes are open. So we have a 4-year-old. That's our youngest. I'm trying to get my hand movements like on the camera. It's weird with the phone. We have a 4-year-old. It's a little young. You can get them on skis, but you can't really do much. They can go down to bunny slopes, I guess, and get them started. But we might need to fly a grandparent out for some babysitting. But you guys
they don't even use poles at that age, right? They just kind of zip along.
Yeah, pizza slice to slow down, French fries to go faster. That's all they know.
We were out. My brother lives in Denver, and a few years ago, we took the boys out there and we did a dog sledding. But instead of taking a sled, because we went in the summer, they pulled a golf cart, which was pretty cool. I mean, they're flying like 25 miles an hour down a bumpy mountain road. So that was a pretty cool experience.
Where'd you do that?
So it was outside of Breckenridge.
Okay. Cool. That's what, West Denver, right? Yeah. Well, check that out. That sounds actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
I wish I'd known about that before. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, we didn't either. We were up there and we're like, saw someone advertising it. So we're like, oh, let's go check it out.
Yeah, why not? You guys gonna have any more kids?
No, we want to go with a man-on-man defense instead of having to go to zone.
Yeah. So 6 and 8. Guys, they're still young. You guys having fun with them? I guess what's your when you first had a kid? So going back 8 years ago, what year was that? 2012. All right.
I think it was 11 in October. So yeah.
Okay. So 2011. Like, how were you? How old were you then?
So let's see, 36.
You were 36 then?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're 36, going to be a father for the first time. I guess what was going through your head? Was that an excitement? Was that nervous? Was that fear? What was the mentality there?
I'd say I was pretty prepared for it. You know, we got married later in life and took a while before we, decided to have kids. So we had a lot of friends that had, children. Even though I never enjoyed like playing with other people's kids, I was never like, oh, let me hold your baby and things like that. I think I was ready, and we were really excited when it happened. And it's one of those things that like once that happened, it's hard to remember what it was like before because everything changes.
Big time. You got to have most of your 20s and good chunk of your 30s without children. How long were you married before?
So let's see, 2008. So 4 or 5 years.
Oh, so you had a good long time, just you and your wife, and you got to do a lot of fun stuff, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So
we skipped that. We went straight from, married as teenagers. We went, I think, about 4 years of marriage and then had a kid, which I genuinely feel like I recommend that for everybody. Like, to be married long enough to really get to know your spouse and without throwing, because a baby, just like you said, it turns your life upside. Everything's different from then on. In a good way. Like, I'm not trying to push anybody away from it. It's just, it's different. You have something to care for, and you can't just, someone run to Home Depot. Like, you have to make sure someone's watching the baby before you run to Home Depot, or if your wife's already out, because that almost happened to me. Gosh, I think we had like a 6-week-old, our oldest. And I almost I left the house. He was napping. My wife had gone somewhere with like a friend or somewhere, maybe grocery shopping. I just wasn't used to it yet. So I went to go run to Home Depot or Lowe's or something real quick. I get in the car. I start to back out the driveway. I'm like, shit, I got a kid inside. It was bizarre. I only did that once, and I never actually left.
Yeah.
Put it out there. But
that's better than the alternative, which are the people that take their kid with them and then leave them in the car. Yeah. I've always been like, how do you do that? But I guess if you're, who knows what frame of mind they're in when that happens.
I don't know, because I've never come close to doing that.
No.
There's never been a time where I left the car and didn't know I had a kid in there. But my kids were also loud and whiny. So there really wasn't much choice of forgetting them. But yeah, gosh, thanks for bringing up that morbid conversation.
Yeah, I was trying to make you look better.
Yeah, well, there you go. You did it. So far, all my kids have survived. That is a good thing.
So how many kids do you have?
I got 3.
3?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got, I'll tell you their ages as soon as I think of them. Yeah.
I know, you need like a quick cheat sheet.
All right, we got 4, we got 6, and we got a 9-year-old. So 4, 6, 9. When we left for the tour, we had a 3-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 9-year-old. So I got to say 3, 6, 9, damn near fine. I'm just stuck with me one more time, but it's over. The kid had a birthday and ruined it.
Right. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, but they've enjoyed, and we left at this age for a reason, because they're not so old that us going away for 2 years and touring the country was like uprooting them from their teenage relationships, and there were no girlfriends or anything we had to like pull them away from, to where they would be like resenting us the whole time.
Right.
And the youngest was, old enough where he probably won't remember everything, but we're videotaping so much that like we're even watching the videotapes now of what we've been doing, and he can really remember it all. So we just felt like, youngest is old enough he's not in naps anymore, things like that. So we're not having to kind of cater to that. We can kind of still do most of the things we want to do. At the same point, they'll all remember it, and we just felt like this was a great age and a great time for everyone to enjoy it, best possible case.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I know
Definitely.
I phrased it weird.
I've got a buddy of mine who took his family on a tour around the world. And I think his kids are maybe like 9 and 12.
Mm-hmm.
And they toured around the world. And when they got done, he asked them, like, what do you guys want to do next? And they said, let's do it again. So they're actually on their second rotation. They got ended up having to, shelter in place, I think in somewhere off of Thailand, once COVID hit. But, there's worse places to be than at the beach in, a beautiful paradise. Yeah,
that's true. I feel like I'd rather be in America just for the medical care.
Yeah.
Just in case you needed it. But, oh yeah, someone's always got to upstage me. I think I'm awesome doing a tour around the country. He's doing a tour around the world. Is that a local guy?
Yeah. Do you know Jeff Davis?
Nope.
Yeah, so he's from here in Jacksonville.
Is that part of the Winn-Dixie family, Davises?
No,
not that lucky. That sounds fun. So where have they been going around the world?
They've been all over the place. Trying to think where he's at now, but they hit Europe and in Asia, worked their way back around. I think the last tail end that they hit was like South America and Central America. And then for the second time around, I think they are hitting up their top picks from the first trip. Okay.
So I'm curious about that because I wouldn't mind going around the world. I've never been, like I said, I've never seen our country first, so that was my first priority. I knew Florida and like the I-95 corridor to Maryland, and that's about it. So I'd never seen like the plains. I've never seen the Rockies and the West Coast and all that, and or a desert, things like that. So I definitely wanted to see our country first, and our country is freaking huge. But around the world, it's something we definitely want to do one day. I feel like a 4-year-old is too young to take around the world, in my opinion. I don't want to do it. Even the 6-year-old, I'm not too sure about. I want them to be able to fend for themselves a little bit more. And at the same point, I feel like there's a lot of places you go to. I know you gotta get shotted up. I know I had a friend who went to a wedding in India, and he had to do like a month worth of, I don't know what you call it, inoculations maybe, or a bunch of shots or preparations for the trip. And that was just one of the countries, I'm sure if you go to Africa, it's different, or South America or Central America. So I might have to get a hold of him and ask him how that's going with, a 9-year-old.
Yeah, I'd be happy to introduce you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So you said you did a lot of stuff in Florida. We've been trying to hit up, some of the stuff here because there's so many springs and parks. Like this year's the first time that we, have gone to Huguenot and like Little and Big Talbot. So we've been trying to hit some of those places that are within, an hour or so of Jacksonville. So that's one of the things we've also been doing during this time is trying to, explore some of these parks.
And there's so much in Florida. There really is. But now it's all kind of the same. It's all water-based, really, for the most part. But yeah, springs are always fun for kids. The ocean's always fun. The river's always fun. At least for our kids, because, like I said, we're Florida people, so we kind of grew up in water. And
right.
Even everywhere we're going now, it seems to be, my wife really picks the camping destinations. They all seem to be water-based. So some of them we can get in, some of them we can't. But yeah, there's so much in Florida to do. There really is. But like I said, we were just saying the country's huge. I mean, you could spend months and months and months on each and every state and still not see everything.
Right.
I mean, like you said, you go up to Georgia. I mean, Georgia alone, we've been to Georgia. We've seen Georgia. There's so many things in Georgia we still haven't seen. So we have such a big country. It amazes me. And now that we're actually driving and exploring it and seeing like the vast differences in like the geography and the landscape, it kind of blows my mind a little bit, but it's really cool. I like it.
Yeah. I have a friend of mine that had a really cool thing that she would do with her kids. So they would say, we're going to do one big trip this year, and then essentially have them vote on where they wanted to go, or they'd pick a place and say, all right, now the kids have to go and research, find fun things that they want to do, and then present it to the parents. And they'll do a family vote on what stuff they get to do. So essentially she had her kids doing all the trip planning for them.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really cool idea that I'd like to start implementing with our kids.
I want to call him a friend, but an acquaintance. Like, we know of each other. We've just never really hung out. But I know he's got a couple kids much older than me. I think he's in his 50s. But they go on a big trip every year. And so what they do as a family is everyone writes down what they want on a piece of paper or where they want to go. And it can be pretty much anywhere within reason around the world. And they drop it in a hat. And, so there's 4 or 5 selections in a hat that are all different. And then they just pick one at random. And that's where they go for the year, and they start planning and make it fit within their budget, of course. But I always thought that was pretty interesting. It was a good way for, but they're all older too, teenage kids and whatnot. Yeah. So I'm not giving my 4-year-old a say where we're going. He doesn't get to choose.
We're not going to Chuck E. Cheese again.
Yeah, we're over Chuck E. Cheese. But I like Chuck E. Cheese. I hadn't been there in forever, and we took him there like a year ago in Jacksonville. I actually kind of liked it. The food was terrible.
It was a lot better than what I remember growing up. It used to be like dark and a little creepy, but they've kind of made it a little bit brighter. and they serve beer now.
Yeah, I thought it would be a complete cesspool, and like the kids were going to get kidnapped, something like that. And really, it actually wasn't that bad at all. In fact, if we had one in St. Augustine, we might have gone more often. But everything in Jacksonville is an hour drive. Then we have to deal with Jacksonville traffic, and we're just a quaint little St. Augustine family that hates seeing cars in front of us.
Yeah, and that St. Augustine to Jacksonville, there always seems to be a wreck on that little stretch there.
Yeah, everyone's trying to escape Jacksonville. They're driving too fast. Right. Get down to Pleasant St. Augustine, which is no longer quaint and pleasant anymore. I don't know if you ever spent time in St. Augustine or like.
We were down there last weekend.
So it's grown up so much and it's getting so crowded. It's starting to irritate me. I want everyone to go back where they came from. The problem is I'm not originally from St. Augustine. So if I institute that rule, then I have to leave too.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
That's the challenge. Everyone, they want all these new things in their cities or towns. And then when they get them, they're like, there's too many people here. It's like, well, you get those things as people come in. And then it's a catch-22. So.
Well, and we keep getting voted like top tourist destination, Nights of Lights, this and that. And, everyone visits and likes it and decides they want to come back here.
Right.
Which I guess is okay. All right. So we got to get back to fatherhood somehow.
So since you're 100% dad, what types of things are you doing to, do you work on your skills as a dad on an ongoing basis? Is there anything that you're doing in that area to improve?
Yeah. Well, I mean, now I've so more so than probably anybody else, because now I am like, I've almost dedicated my current life to it, to just the constant thinking and preparation and talking to people like you and others and getting different perspectives and seeing what other people are doing. So I'm spending a lot more time on it now than I ever have before, but it was kind of something I always wanted to be a good dad. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, even like in my teenage years, I wanted to be married. I wanted to have, one wife and, not have to deal with divorce, because, I had to deal with that. I was a product of a divorced household. I didn't want my kids split up between houses. I didn't want to, I have 2 half siblings, love them to death, but I didn't want that for my family unit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I wanted all the kids to grow up together. I wanted mom and dad to be on the same team. And so it's something I always kind of made an effort towards, and I wanted to be a dad young, because I wanted to, partly selfish, but I wanted to be able to play and wrestle and fight and not be like, too old where my knees hurt and things like that. And at the same point, selfishly, I kind of wanted to be done having kids by 30. That way, when they graduated high school, I'd be 48. And then me and my wife could kind of jet around the world traveling without kids. So there's a little selfish part to that too, but
sure.
It's something, if you want to be good at, at investing, you study investing, and you really kind of like focus on that and make efforts to be better at investing. And, we're good at business and marketing. You kind of study marketing, read marketing books and try and hone your craft. And that's something I've just always wanted. And so I think from the very get-go, I've always been very perceptive of what other fathers are doing that I thought were good and what other fathers were doing that I thought were bad. And I always tried to do my best in that sense. and try and be the best father I could be. And at the same point, the best husband I could be to keep the marriage together. So we could have that opportunity to have the whole house together. And I didn't always do it great, and I still don't always do it great, but I certainly focus on it more now, just because we're building a brand around it, and it'd be stupid not to know anything about it. So I'm really looking at the next year or two as a tremendous learning experience for me, and to get different perspectives in the world. So on how fathers act.
Yeah, I've been studying some different people that, have some, whether it's podcasts or trainings on different ways to, improve the way that you raise your kids. So there's a guy, Daniel Lazonis, who has a program called the Einstein Blueprint. So it's kind of teaching your kids how to think creatively and not, remember things, but essentially learn how to learn. And he has some great resources in that program that I've kind of read through and trying to implement with my kids. I'd like to do more of that, but I'm always looking for those different, ways that I can give my kids, tools and resources that I didn't have, and, give them experiences that open their perspectives and their view on the world, and trying to expose them to different types of people and different types of things, and really show them, accountability and responsibility, and, not give them things, but have them find ways to earn them and really appreciate them.
Well, I mean, I agree with everything you said. So so I've always been kind of torn between, you want to mold your kids in a certain way, because the parental impact does have a huge impact on their lives. I mean, what is it? Nature versus nurture, both are into play. It's not one versus the other. And so, I think, dads and moms can have a huge impact on the direction of their kids' lives. And I think that's been pretty well proven. At the same point, each kid has their own personality and skill set and talents. And so, like, I was just talking to somebody, it was about 6 or 7 months ago. The dad, much older dad, kind of more old school. His kids are going into college. I think one of them's even graduated college, but like, he forced them into engineering. Like, they didn't have a choice. He made them go to what school he wanted them to go to. He made them do an engineering track. And I think one of them was kind of good at it and wanted to do that, and the other didn't. And he forced it anyway. And I think, I felt that was so wrong. The force, like, it's one thing to guide and kind of push in one direction. It's another thing just to force it hands down, because I think that's going to end up building tons of resentment and just that. A kid who doesn't want to do it and doesn't have talents for it is just going to be unhappy in life. And then you're going to start to resent his parents for even pushing him down that track, where he might have been a lot more, or probably would have been a lot more successful and a lot happier had he been able to kind of pick and choose what fits him better. But yeah, I think the ability to introduce them into, like you said, things you never got introduced to give them choices to find out where their skills and talents lay, I think is probably one of the best things you can do. And obviously, the more success you have, the more able you're to do that. It's a little harder when you're lower income, things like that, to be taking your kid around the country or around the world, or to really give them more of those opportunities. But even then, just not to limit their ability to learn and things like that. You were mentioning you want them to be, it seems like, more of an independent thinker, and I feel like in our household, are you an entrepreneur? Did you start your company?
Yes. Yeah.
So I think for like our mindsets, you and I, that's going to come a lot more natural, just because that's the way we kind of think. Like, I can't work for somebody else. It's very difficult for me, just because I always feel like I'm right. And like, I think a little bit differently, and I'm so 100% sure that it's right. So even when I'm wrong, I think I'm right. But I'm just used to like being able to pick my way and going against the grain and things like that. And it's worked out well for me. But like, I have that natural thought process that, I don't want to say it was forced on me or anything like that, but like, I was given that opportunity. I remember I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was until after I was already one. I just thought I was a business guy. Maybe I was like 10 years old or something like that. My dad and my stepmom got me a start your own lawn mowing business like box. Like
Oh, cool.
I think they got it like at the those little kiosks in the malls back in the day.
Right.
I think it was like one of those start a business kits. And like I just fell in love with it after that. Like the ability to, and I grew up in like 25 different houses and went to like 20 different schools. So I always had to start over. And so I think that's like why I am the way I am now. It was a natural talent for me. At the same time, I would start a lawn mowing business. I would build it up a little bit, and then we moved. So then I would just have to shut it down and start a whole nother one again. And then we'd move, and I'd have to shut it down and start a whole nother one again. And
if you could go back, you'd be like, "Oh, I'll sell it to a kid in the neighborhood."
So my biggest regret, and I blame my dad for it, because in 8th grade, I was making really good money in Jupiter, Florida. I had a bunch of houses I was mowing. Like it was amazing. But a kid wanted to come work for me. He like knew how much money I was making. He's like, "Can I come mow lawns with you?" I was like, "Absolutely. Like, let's do this." And I told my dad, and he's like, "No, you don't want to hire other people because he won't do as good of a job as you, and it's going to affect your reputation." And so I didn't. And I didn't get to sell it, of course, because we moved shortly after that to St. Augustine. So I would always just have to shut it down. But that's kind of one of my one regrets. I wish I had been able to practice hiring and training younger and start building my businesses that way. Because I like the way my life has turned out, but I almost that's been my biggest struggle in life, is hiring and training. Yeah. Like in my business world, just because, like I said, I put so much pressure on myself to do everything perfectly that almost no one can come up to my standards. And I just never trained for that. And that's something I think is like so iron stamped into my head, that conversation. Right. And I know it's wrong. So, but it's still something I've never been great at overcoming. I still hire and I still train. I just didn't get as good at it as I feel like I wish I could have been.
I think that's one of the top challenges of all business owners. And it's funny you mentioned that, because I see that all the time. But my older son loves drawing. So, and then he would, want to buy things. I'm like, well, why don't you find some ways to make money? And he's like, well, how am I supposed to make money? I said, why don't you sell your art? So he actually took his stuff out in the front driveway. I think it was like 2 years ago, and put up a sign and was, selling artwork from the front of the house. And I think he made like $20 or $30 in the first day that he did it. And I was like, awesome. And from that point on, like, he'd almost every day be like, "Hey, can I go sell?" And I'm like, it's a little raining. Yeah. But at the same time, I didn't want to, discourage him. So I try to get, let him do it as much as possible. But I was really proud of him for being able to go out there and step up and do that.
So he might have that natural skill for it. So my oldest was the same way, and still is. And so we actually got in trouble with it. He always wanted to sell stuff. So we got him, like, we started him off in a little gumball business, and it did well. He just sold that. But he loved selling stuff on the front yard. And one time we caught him. He had just gone around our house collecting stuff and was out in the front yard selling it. And like, he was like, $30, $40, $50 decorations. He's selling for like $1 because they're free to him, to neighbors. And so he got in big trouble from mama for that. Like, you can't just steal other people's stuff and sell it. Right. But so we're not artists in our family. Yeah, the kids think they are, but art's not good enough to sell. He likes selling drinks and things like that. And I always told him, use your cuteness and the fact that you're a kid. I mean, that's great marketing and leverage. No one wants to say no to a cute 8-year-old who's smiling at them. So use it until you lose it. But I guess he was out there too many days in a row, and people stopped buying, like, waters and Gatorades and sodas from him. So he just put them all in a little beach basket and just went door to door selling them. So customers not coming to you, or not coming to you, he just goes to them. Smart. And he did that. He did that on his own. His little brother went to a church school like 3 days a week, and like every kid had to sell 10. What are those Christmas plants? Poinsettias? Yeah. Is that the red ones? Mm-hmm. So you had to sell 10, and we were like, we're not going door to door selling stuff. We'll just we'll just buy all of them and just, I think they're $10 a pop or something like that. And so Levi our oldest took them and went door to door and like put the $2 profit margin on them and just sold them door to door in his little wagon in our neighborhood. And I think he made like $20 off of it. Yeah. And just his brother got credit for the sales and he got to do a little business. So he's definitely our entrepreneur and just has a natural calling for it. And we'll definitely feed him as much as we can, as long as he's not stealing from mom and dad. I think we're good. But how's the other one? So what's your 6-year-old? Your 8-year-old likes to draw.
Yeah. So the 6-year-old is definitely more outgoing. He's like an attention loving little boy. I mean, he just like, gleams anytime he can get some attention. So he's into making money too, but he likes to do the selling and have Alex do the actual work on it. So he's like, hey, Alex, why don't you draw this and I'll go sell it. So that might be a good little partnership moving on. So Alex is definitely more competitive and enjoys doing the art side of it. And then Drew just loves people. So I think they could be a great little combo.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I feel like when we were growing up, like if you were an artist, like it was like a dead career. Like people didn't want you going into that because, you'll just be broke forever, but you get to do art. I feel like that's completely shifted now, especially if like you can digitalize, you can take that artistic talent and go to like an online medium. Because I feel like graphic designers right now and website designers and, wedding photographers and videographers and all that kind of stuff, drone footage people. I feel like that's such a desirable skill right now to have. Like people all over are hiring. Man, if he can translate it, he's got a good future and tons of freedom to go with it.
Yeah, the challenge with that, and I've tried to instill this to him, as early as I could, is that you don't price on what you think they'll pay. You price on the value that you want to pull out of it. So he was selling his art for like $20, and people are coming up thinking it's going to be $1, and he's like, well, this one's 20, this one's 10, this one's 5. So I told him, if they don't buy it, that's fine. It's better off to sell one for $20 than 20 for $1. So he's got that in his mind. My background is art and graphic design. So it wasn't until high school that I realized that I could translate that art into a career of graphic design. But even designers, a lot of them are undervaluing themselves too, especially with overseas artists that, charge $3-5 an hour. So it's something that a lot of people have to understand their own value and find the right clients versus, just taking what someone will give them.
You could also go the Kincaid route. You just take that one drawing, throw it on the photocopy machine, have your little brother color it in, and sell 1 million of them for $1.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. I genuinely feel like finding their natural skills and talents and what they're good at and kind of honing those and not penalizing them is going to result in a much better life for them. Because I feel like nowadays it really doesn't matter what you do anymore. There's ways to monetize it. And, where that may not have been the case, in the 80s and 90s growing up, just the online world is, I was talking with a guy about it the other day, video games. Like the fact that video games is a career now blows my mind, but it is like 100% valid. And if your kid's really good at video games and likes them and makes them happy, then my gosh, let him become a professional gamer.
Right.
Like it's not shameful. It's not like he's going to be sitting in your basement playing them broke asking for Cheetos all day long. Like he's probably going to have his own house he paid for cash because you can make good money as a gamer if you're good at it.
Yeah, especially with sports getting pulled back, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be, shifting their betting habits, and I'm sure they'll move that money over to.
Can you bet on video games?
I'm sure you can. I'm sure there's some way too.
That's funny. But yeah, so I mean, it's interesting to see how like the older generation is still kind of crapping on, like my dad was making fun of the kids because they like to watch. It's called Castles of Illusion. It's like a Mickey Mouse video game, and they like to watch video games being played by other people that are really good at it, and they do it so they can learn how to do it and they can become better at the Mickey Mouse game. And my father just thought it was like the stupidest thing in the world. I'm like, meanwhile, this guy who's made these video games has like 10 million views and probably makes a fortune off of that one video alone.
Right.
I'm like, but it's no different than sports. No different. You're watching someone do what they're good at, so you can become better at it. I mean, it's no different than us growing up watching football or baseball, and then watching someone else play, and then kind of figuring out how you can almost mimic that and do a better job yourself when you go out in the field and play. And it's just funny how different generations they don't seem to grasp it.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Growing up, I had a Nintendo and played like Zelda and, some of the old original Nintendo games. And since I could draw, I would draw out all the maps for the different levels, and then I'd sell them to people at school. But what happened was then Nintendo they'd make those magazines that they'd have them, and they're like professionally done, and they like totally put me out of business. But, nowadays, like with video and YouTube, that you've expanded the reach of who you can have as a market. And that's why, as you're saying, now people can monetize that on a level that they could never do before. And someone that had a very niche product that there wouldn't be enough people, say in Idaho, that would like it. But now that they can market it out to the whole world, they can find that small group that can sustain that product that they have.
Yeah. I think, now more than ever to kind of push their kids to do what they genuinely like to do and are talented at is the way to go, and forcing them down the path. Like I said, that other dad, forcing them down the path into engineering, because engineering was the way to do it in the 70s. You would make a lucrative career.
Right.
I remember what he said too. He said, "I don't care if my kids hate me, as long as they hate me while making $100,000 a year." Like, it's not that hard to make good money anymore. Like, photographers can do it. In Florida, crap, you can mow lawns and make $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
If you're good at mowing lawns, there's plenty to mow. Obviously it takes time to build up there, but the same thing as an engineer. It's not like you start out at that.
Right. Speaking of money, in terms of finances with your kid, how have you been kind of teaching them lessons about money?
We're pretty transparent about how we kind of live our lives, and we're very I got in trouble with credit cards when I was young, starting my business, because a banker told me that's how it's supposed to be done. So I think I went in there to try and get a loan to kind of help, we were going to get a big client to buy some equipment. And he said, "Banks won't ever loan to you because you're a new business. What every good business owner does is gets a whole bunch of credit cards, and that's how they fund their business in the beginning." And I still know his name, and he's still in that St. Augustine market. I'll never forget it, and that's what I did, and it got me in stupid trouble. So we've been very debt free, and we just pay for cash and everything in our whole life. And so we've kind of been very transparent with the kids. Like, we don't do payments. We just buy it. This RV and this truck in our house, like, they're paid for. And if we can't pay for it, we don't buy it. And we're still, we're still pretty frugal people. I mean, we still are standing in line at the store and see a Snicker bar for $1.45, and we're like, I'm not wasting my money on that.
Right.
It's just, if I'm shopping on Amazon and there's a garden hose for, $9.86 and one for $9.84, I still pick the $9.84 one, as long as they're remotely similar.
Right.
So, we're still pretty frugal, and we really monitor our expenses, but them having their own business was really beneficial, because then they got to see both an initial investment, how you have to not spend all the money you receive because you have to buy more product or you have to do a repair, how you have to kind of reserve for the future, if you want to buy another machine to grow it and build it, or be prepared for when bad things do happen. If that thing disappears and gets stolen, you have to be able to cover it. If it breaks, you have to be able to buy the part. And then they get to kind of watch the money that they've made disappear as they make some poor buying choices. So we kind of allow it, but don't allow it. So we'll let them spend money, that's theirs, if they want to. And we kind of give them warnings of, hey, like, we're dealing with this right now. We're going to all these new cities all the time. And so Levi always wants to get a little souvenir, and we're letting them at the same time, but we're saying, hey, you've got like $400 left. So, like, you keep spending $20 and that's going to be gone, 10, 15 trips, and you're not making money anymore. So you've got to learn how to make this thing last. So control your desires, your impulses, and maybe buy lesser expensive things. That's what he went from buying the keychains to buying like those little really tiny bumper stickers and things like that. And
he's gonna get the penny that you can get pressed with the little design on it.
Yeah, so he's all that stuff. And now we figured if we go to the tourist places like the they have those like visitor centers is what they call them. So if you go to the visitor center, a lot of time they'll have like local restaurants or things like that. They're little like stickers and things they hand out for free. And so he's learned he can get those now for free and doesn't spend any money. But he found one the other day at a t-shirt shop. It was like one of those little rectangle stickers that said, we were in Utah. It was in Moab. And it said, Utah, but I'm taller. So like it cracked him up so much he had to buy it. It was only $1, so we're okay with it. But so in regards to finance, like he's kind of learned a little bit how to make it and how to, in a sense, run a very small business and the investment aspect and reinvestment aspect and buying cost of goods sold and making sure you don't spend everything because you have things that will be due soon. And how to separate kind of the profit for you versus for the business. Controlling your expenses, realizing you don't have a lot coming in anymore because he's in the same spot we are. We don't work anymore, so we're in a sense retired, which means our money has to be invested well to be created, and he doesn't have enough to do that to create income streams. At the same point, not spend it all into oblivion. So the 4-year-old's not getting any of this, but the 8-year-old's really aware financially of what's going on. And the 6-year-old kind of is getting little pieces of it, but
nice.
I think we've done a really good job financially. Actually, I'm worried we talk about finances too much in our family because, like, I see the way he thinks about it sometimes. I don't want it to be the only thing he thinks about, or that money is the only thing that matters. And so we're trying to put the perspective on of it's important, but it's not everything.
Right.
It helped, but it's not everything. Like, we'll be happy if we're broke. Like if we lose everything, we're still going to be happy because we're a family. We have done things in a way that everything's paid for. But if we hit a pedestrian in a crosswalk and they sue us and take everything, and get through all the corporate, protections, we just start over. We're still together as a family, and you can always make more money. But we won't let it destroy us. We're not going to go into depression just because we got broke. So we'll just get back to work.
I like that. Yeah, you teach them the skills to be able to generate their own, then that's all they need. Yeah.
As long as I think the fear, because we've been having a lot of discussions about fear because of COVID and everything else going on. They're not super aware of what's going on with COVID and all the race stuff and the political, because they're 8. But every once in a while they hear stuff that other adults are saying in a campground or see a shirt or a billboard or things like that. And the 8-year-olds are the only one that asks questions, or some other kids will say something about something. And so we have to have this kind of discussions of fear, which, we've had the discussions in regards to finance. Like, we're just not going to be scared if we lose everything. We're not going to be scared of just everything in life. Like, what's the worst case scenario?
Right.
Everything goes great. Or worst case scenario, someone dies. Like, that would suck. But you still got just the ability to be happy minus stuff is more important.
Yeah, we got our kids the little savings banks that have like 4 different tiers. So it's like, spend, save, share, and I think we have another one that's like college. So they're taking a percentage of any time that they get money and break it out. We
that's smart. You're making them pay for college.
Yeah,
genius. All right. So what were the 4 segments?
So the 3 are share, spend, and save, and then we added one that's college. So
share, spend, save. So what's the share one?
So share is like like nonprofits, or if there's a fundraiser or someone if they want to give it to a charity.
Okay, like charitable giving. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So we've talked about that because we tithe. We give 10% to our church. I'm not sure we've actually I know we've had that discussions. I'm not sure we ever did it with his money. I know we talked about it. Gosh, yeah, maybe Dad here might have failed on that one. I know we've talked about it. I'm not sure we actually did it because we would have, like, we don't tithe on every your business. I don't know if you ever faced this, but like the way our money came in, and we were structured as an S corp, so like it would come to us, and I preferred to keep it out of the business holding, but we would put it back in when the business needed it. And like towards the end of the year, that's what we would do. So a lot of it like would come back to us, but then we put it back in, and so it's just kind of like a bunch of transfers. So we wouldn't tithe until the end because we didn't know if the business would need it, and more than likely we were always reinvesting in it to help it grow. And so we did our calculations at the end of the year, and then just wrote the church a big check. And so that's probably what we meant to do with him too, is just at the end of the year. I'm not sure we ever did it.
Yeah.
I feel like a failure on that. I might have to go back and figure that out. But did you guys ever do that way too, where like it's always kind of back and forth between, your personal and your business? And
yeah, because it's like, figuring out what the tax is going to be, and, different times of the year, you've got different kind of flows of business coming in. So it's always a juggling act. Yeah,
that, and I was perpetually reinvesting, and I like to do it in big chunks. That was just my style of, I like to build up a big pile of cash and then spend a good portion of it into something that will then generate more.
Right.
My wife has always hated that, but she's also accepted it's done well for us, and that's kind of just how I roll.
Yeah.
But yeah, it makes those kind of calculations frustrating. So, and then you got, like you said, dealing with taxes, and you got to make sure you do it for a certain time period to make sure it counts and things like that, and make sure it gets, if we're buying equipment, it's got to be like in the field and in use before the end of the year. That way it counts for that year. Otherwise it won't count, things like that. Stupid amounts of rules we have to follow.
Yeah.
Are you guys given allowances or things like that? Or are they just making their money off selling art?
So they do some where they generate their own. When they go to their grandmother's house, they get some, for doing reading and other things. We'll do sometimes where we'll give them rewards for like chores, but it's not a specific standard. Like they don't have an allowance that we're doing each week or anything like that. So we just kind of do it at the hoc.
Yeah, I haven't done allowances or anything like that, or pay for chores yet. We just kind of made them do them.
Yeah. Yeah. They definitely have their main chores that they do all the time. It's just for like special things. Like if I'm like, hey, I'm working on this, if you guys help me, we'll give you, some money on it.
Yeah. But so I've tried that a few times, and apparently I'm very cheap on my labor. So
they know how much they can make elsewhere. So they're like, the going rate is,
I'm like, if you clean my truck, I'll give you $1. And they're like, how about $50? I'm like, are you kidding me? No, I'll give you $1.50, and that's it. Yeah. And then they just don't do it. At the same point, like, kid, you're not good at cleaning cars. Like, I've seen you clean a car before. You're terrible at it. I'm not
it's dirtier when you're done.
Yeah. So he wants to do that for his next business. He wants to clean RVs. So we're at all these RV places. So if he can just clean them, because it costs a fortune to get your RV cleaned.
Yeah.
I've been trying to tell him, man, you're just not good enough to charge for that yet. Like, you've got to do a much better job cleaning dads, and then you can go try and charge somebody. But yeah, he's definitely an entrepreneurial spirit. We do need to get into that giving better. They know mom and dad do it, and we do almost all of it through our church. But yeah, man, I think we've really dropped the ball on that. You've reminded me of it, and I just kind of forgot about it. To get them giving. How much do you let them spend? All of it, or just portions of it?
Yeah, just portions. They're pretty good about not blowing it all the time. Like, I don't know how we've been able to help them develop the like delayed gratification. So like, Halloween, we'll have them eat a little bit of candy at a time. Like, whereas, most kids will like devour it in one night. We'll be around Valentine's Day and still have leftover candy from Halloween. So they're pretty used to, taking and letting things grow over time. So, they've been really content with what they have and grateful. So they haven't really found that thing that they're, yearning to buy.
Building impulse control, I think, is a huge thing you could do. I mean, and it sounds like you guys are doing it and they have it. I think that's the fall of a lot of people. It's just the inability to control their desires and emotions, and the I want it now kind of feeling. And whether that's in regards to finances or eating or, you know, sex or drug gratification, whatever it is. I think the ability to say no, even when you kind of want something, is I think it's an underrated skill. And I'm not exactly sure how exactly to really build that in a kid. But like you said, you know, having even something simple as like the candies and just having them there, but the ability to say no when it is there. I'm probably not a good teacher of that. My wife just bought me a thing of Oreos for the first time in like a year or two, and that sucker was gone within like 2 hours, the whole pack.
Yeah.
She did right. She got the double stuff, and the double stuffs are perfect.
I always thought with the Girl Scout cookies that someone should buy a whole bunch of them and freeze them and then bring them out, like, you know, in the middle of the year between when they're actually sold and sell them for double the price.
Yeah, they do that. They're year round now, aren't they?
I don't know.
I swear, because I've seen them at like the grocery store. The green box with. I've never been big into I'm not even sure I've ever tasted one.
Yeah,
but I know like I've seen the boxes before, and I know like the fudge mint ones are like the popular. And I think anybody that puts mint in chocolate should be sent to hell straight away. Same with coconut. Just don't do it. Like that's a great way to ruin chocolate.
Back to the delayed gratification. I don't know if this is how it happened with our youngest, but I know anytime he asks something before we even answer, he goes, "I know, we'll see," because that's kind of our answer to everything. So I think he's used to that delay regardless of what it is he's asking. We're like, "We'll see."
Yeah. We say no a lot, but the kids also ask for a lot. So I feel like my default answer is usually no. Can we do this? No, maybe. We'll see. It's really food is a big one. Spending money is a big one. I guess that's how you really root it when they're young.
Yeah.
It's something that you really can't teach with drugs and sex. I mean, that'd be, first of all, super awkward with the kid age. But hopefully you can just kind of, you know, maybe hone that muscle, that skill, the ability to say no to yourself. Yeah. And that way, when you get to those ages and those opportunities, that you can say no. I don't know. Can you think of any other way? I mean, I feel like food and money are the big ones.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it reminds me of, I didn't drink until I got to college, and for whatever reason, I think it was I saw people getting in trouble and it kind of ruining some lives. So I was like, I don't want to do that. And then by having that delayed until I actually did it, it got to a point where I knew I didn't have to drink to have a good time and all those things. So by the time I did drink, you know, even though I did, you know, heavily at first, I still was able not to let it kind of, you know, carry me where, you know, every time I drank, I had to have, you know, like 6 beers or something like that.
Yeah. So I started drinking probably when I was like 14. I think I was like 8th grade or something like that. Not like drinking, but that was like the first time I had a drink. And then, you know, parties or friend's house sneaking it, something like that. Not like I had a 6-pack in the fridge all the time. But we definitely drank in high school at parties and things like that, because I was in like the athletic crowd, and that's just, you know, after football games is what you want. You just went and go party. Drink a ton. I probably didn't drink again for like 4 or 5 weeks, just because like I didn't like that feeling, and that's still true to this day. Like every once in a while, I'll go to like a concert and I'll just, whoops, went way too far, and then like I just don't want to touch alcohol for like months and months and months. It just that might be my all or nothing personality. But man, so I've met some people, and one of them was an AA guy, and he was just saying like, you still get that feeling, but then like, they drink their way out of it. Ooh. And I just like I feel bad for that personality. That might be more of like an addictive personality. Yeah. To where I guess that is the you know, the thing that causes the pain is also the cure. Yeah. And so like one of my things in life, I never want my kids to get there. Like if they're going to drink behind my back as teenagers, like I want them to know my experiences, to where, you know, that dad has had too much to drink when he was in high school and college, and then like never wanted, like I go ahead and give them the answer of, then I never wanted to touch it again for 3 months because you felt so crappy. Right. You know, that you don't want to do it anymore, versus letting them find out on their own. They can drink their way out of it. And then, you know, that can really cause some problems down the line. Exactly. It's like, are you going to be having those discussions with them, or do you not mind if they have a drink as, you know, when they're in high school? Or I guess, what's your thought process going into that?
I think we'll be open about discussing it. I don't think we'll be, allowing them to kind of drink. You know, if they do, it would be something where like we're at home and, you know, they can have like wine or a drink with the family, but not like, hey, you can have your, you know, friends over here and you can drink here if you're going to drink. I knew some of those parents that were like, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen at our house. I'm like, that's not a smart idea. If, you know, you have other kids coming there and something happens. So I think we'll, you know, try and curtail them. You know, obviously we don't know how that's going to go. So kind of wait and see when we get there. But I think we'll be open about it and, you know, speak to them and, you know, if they have friends doing it, talk about why we think it's not the right thing to do and, you know, kind of play it by there.
Yeah, I think the whys are important. Like when you do, especially in things like that, they're going to become like, you know, fitting in with the in crowd, things like that. The why mom and dad feel this way is so important versus the just don't do it.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's big. And then the other thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is just making sure, like, so at the age my kids are now, you know, I've obviously been around their whole life, just continuing to form such a deep relationship with them, like a bond with them to where, you know, I'm still dad. My way is still my way. You have to listen to me, and there's discipline, there's corrections, but there's also like a lot of love and bonding simultaneously. That when they get to those ages, they're not fearful of me in that sense. That they are okay coming to me, asking those things or talking about it or letting me know that these friends are, you know, doing drugs or drinking or, you know, engaging in sexual activity or whatever it is. I'm increasingly beginning to feel that is so important to be able to have that bond early so that when those years come, they can come to you pretty openly and you can receive it in a way that's not like, you know, shocking, or you don't react in a way that makes them not want to ever come to you again.
Right.
At the same point, if they get themselves in a situation where they know dad doesn't agree with it, you know, they get drunk or whatever it is, or get in trouble. You know, it's 3:00 in the morning. They're somewhere they shouldn't be. Their friends are about to do something real stupid. They don't realize they don't want to be there anymore, that they can call dad, and dad's going to withhold the being angry and just come, you know, kind of rescue his son. Yeah. And then bring you back and then simultaneously be able to say, listen, I'm proud of you for getting yourself out of that situation and calling me and knowing you can call me. At the same time, let's not ever get in that situation again. So that's probably what you know, one of the big things I'm working towards right now is just being able to have that strong of a bond with them so that when these teenage years come, because I was a rough teenager, that we'll have that bond and, you know, that familiarity with each other. To where they know they can come to me with awkward things, with, you know, things I don't agree with, and not just be chewed out or lectured or things like that, but still know where I stand and my beliefs in it and what I want for them. But at the same time, being able to, you know, come forward and be honest with me.
It's funny how those kind of generational shifts happen and the pendulum swings back and forth. But I'm like you, I want that kind of combination of still having discipline, but still also being open and close. Whereas I think some of the older generations, there was never that affection and kind of love that was really open. But on the other side, it wasn't like no rules and just do what you want. And I'm going to be here for you regardless.
Yeah, that's the great thing about where we live is it's so well documented now that we get to see what does work and what doesn't work, you know, on that pendulum shift and find that balance. Sweet spot. Yeah. And be able to run it simultaneously. I think that's the ultimate challenge, which, you know, it also plays into your personality. You know, I feel like us entrepreneurs, we're probably more apt at that because we're constantly balancing the perspective of, you know, running a business with employees and managing those different personalities and styles, and dealing with customers and dealing with angry customers and dealing with happy customers, and, you know, managing all these different things. I think it's more of a natural skill set for us versus, you know, other people that maybe don't have our personality sets where we're more able to go with the flow just because it's our natural set. You know, some people are more rigid and stuck in their ways, and they're, you know, it just makes me think of like a factory worker. Like, I do this job, I repeat, and I do this job, and, you know, and it's just more of a rigid mindset. And to be able to break out of that a little bit, and, you know, maybe out of your comfort zone, and go the other way. I think it I feel like makes a more complete parent. You know,
I think one of the things that set me up well for parenting was coaching water polo. I coached a club water polo team at Georgia Tech, and I had like 20, 25 college kids, anywhere from age of 18 right out of high school all the way up to some grad students, and had a wide range of personality types. So I had to learn how to adapt and react to a wide array of personalities, and learn what buttons worked with which people, and how which ones worked with a stick, which ones worked with a carrot, which ones you could yell out, which ones you had to kind of coddle. And having that that difference allowed me to be prepared to have my kids that have dramatically different personality types. So in hindsight, I can see now that kind of helped me prepare. At the time, I didn't realize that was the case, but I'm really glad I had that experience.
Give like a promo, I guess, about your business and where people can find you, what you do, or who would be a good fit for it, and we'll kind of end with that.
All right, sounds good. So great way to connect with me and my business. We've actually started a kind of a tribe of people that we call growth amplifiers. They're business owners that are looking to grow their business and serve a higher purpose, and be able to elevate what they're doing and the people that they support and serve. So if you go to growthamplifiers.com, we've got podcasts with business owners and some other resources there to help businesses grow. And it's a great way to connect with me and our other business owners.
Awesome. I appreciate you coming on.
Likewise, I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Have a good day.
All right. Take care.
Bye.